Okay, the purpose of this video is to demonstrate how to test your program when you've written a program that is asking for input from the user. First of all, I need you to notice in here that I've got the import statement here, and I've declared the scanner object whose name is scan. And so I've got three variables here that are declared, but they're not assigned. So person surveyed, the number of cats, number of dogs. And so then I'm going to ask this, I have the prompt, I'm asking the user for their first name, and then this line of code reads it and then stores it in the right variable. And then this prompt here asks for how many cats they own, and then this one reads and stores it, stores whatever the user types, and then this of course asks how many dogs they own, and then this line here will then read the user's input and store it in number of dogs. So the key thing here to notice is that there is nowhere on here on this program that I actually write the name of a person. Okay, here's person surveyed, asking for their first name. We don't know what they're going to type. We're not the user. And down here it says person surveyed. Doesn't say their name because we don't know what their name's going to be. How many cats do they own? I don't have anywhere on here that I have actually typed a number or an amount of cats or number of cats that they own or dogs. All of that is going to be based on what the user types. Here is the num of pets, where it's going to add the num of dogs and the num of cats together to get the total number of pets for that owner. But I don't have any numbers in here at all. And so that's important because what happens every year, every semester, students start writing values in here when it's not up to them to be writing those values. So right now, let's say that we have written this program, and now I'm going to test it. Now when I test it, so I've compiled it, let's say, there's no errors. When I run this program, now I'm going to run it not as a programmer, but as the user. So I click on that and I go enter your first name. So now I can just type any name in here and I'll hit enter. And then it says how many cats do you own? See, I made that up here a question that would display on the screen, how many cats do you own? And now as the user, I'm sitting here and I read this question, how many cats do you own? Notice the program stops. It's waiting for the user, or which is me in this case, to type an amount. And so I type in, let's say 5, and then hit enter, and then it asks how many dogs do you own. And again, the program doesn't go anywhere because it's waiting specifically for the user to answer the question. Now how does it know to wait for the user? It's this line right here. It says scan.next int, or maybe it'll say scan.next double or scan.next line. Those lines tell the compiler that the user is going to type, and it waits for the user to type and press enter. And so how many dogs do you own? Let's say we go 3. And then notice I typed Bobby 5 and 3, and so here it shows up Bobby owns 5 cats and 3 dogs. And then based on this code up here, the calculation, 5 plus 3 is 8, and so it says that's 8 pets altogether. But notice something in these print statements. I have no name and no numbers at all. Do not type values when the user is supposed to type those values. Okay, as a programmer, there's going to be some values that you will type, some numbers that you will decide what the amounts are or the values are. But in other things, other areas, you're going to be asking the user, and so don't type in your code what the user is going to type, because you don't know what they're going to type. And the other thing is that I want to bring up is in your prompts, keep your prompts simple. Don't make them really long. And you don't have to have concatenation. Some people feel like they've got to have variable calls in here. You don't need variable calls and literal strings joined together. You can just make it a simple question. You could just say, in fact, how many cats do you own? You could just say, enter number of cats. That's it. That's all you have to do. Now, if you want to get fancy, and also there are times when you may need a variable call in there, but let's say we want to get fancy and go, okay, and it says enter your first name, and so person surveyed. So just if you want to be a little interactive with the user, you can go person surveyed, concatenate, and how many cats do you own? And so now you've got a concatenation here, and then when we run it, and so the person enters first name, and so they type Fritz, enter. Oops, I left out something. Then it says, Fritz, how many cats do you own? I blew that because I wasn't paying attention. I need a comma space in here. Let's try that again. So then when you run it, then enter your first name, Fritz, and then it says, Fritz, how many cats do you own? So it's kind of cool that you can interact with the user in that way. But the thing to remember, when you're running your program, you become the user. Okay, so and then you can check your code out as the programmer. Alright, that's how it goes.